Hello and welcome to my tutorial for AI and GameMaker. This is very simple, so don't expect anything fancy. Okay, so first open GameMaker. Takes a minute to load. Opening. There we go. Oh, so I have two of them open. Close the other one. Okay, so for sprites, you need to have 3 sprites, a player, an enemy, and a block. For the block, be sure not to make it transparent. You can make the block any color you want. Okay, then for enemy, it has an animation. You don't have to add that, but you can if you want. It's just for fun. And for the player, all it is just a green circle. Okay, so make sure you have SP at the end of them so that don't get confused when you're writing the script. Okay, and then you need the player, create a step event, and then execute a piece of code. The code is if distance to point mouse X, mouse Y is less than 0, then move towards point mouse X, mouse Y at the speed of 7. So what that translates to in English is if the mouse is more than 0 pixels away, then the player is going to move towards the mouse. Okay? And then for this part down here is if distance to point mouse X, mouse Y is less than 30, then move towards point XY XY at the speed of 0. And what XY is self.x, self.y, but if you just put XY, then it knows that you're talking about itself. So you don't have to put self dot. Okay? And so what this does is it makes it when you stop moving the mouse and the player gets close enough to the mouse that it doesn't keep trying to move around the mouse and shaking around. It just stops. It looks better. Okay? That's simple. And for the enemy, start with a step and execute piece of code. Okay, so the code is if distance to point player X, player Y is greater than 0, then MP potential step player X, player Y at a speed of 5.5, avoiding only solid objects. Okay? And what this is if the player is more than 0 pixels away, then it moves towards the player, avoiding all solid objects. Okay, and if it collides with the player, then it restarts the game. If it collides with another enemy, then it destroys both the instances, which is just another word for object. So it destroys itself, and then it also destroys the enemy it collides with. Okay, and block. If the player runs into it, it restarts the game. And if an enemy runs into it, then it destroys the enemy. Oh, just a second. And make sure, for the enemy, you put other, not self. And for a fake block, it's the same thing, but make sure that the solid isn't checked, because on block it is checked, and on enemy it is checked. And make sure it's not checked on player, because I'll screw everything up. And so don't have anything under block fake, because you want you and the enemy to be able to go through it. Okay? So it's pretty simple. And then for rooms, all I did was just made a couple of fake blocks on this end, and then a couple of fake blocks on this end, right here, and then the players down here, and then there's 4 enemies right here, and so the enemies, they'll detect these fake blocks and go right through them and avoid the solid ones. And then as a player, you have to avoid the solid ones and get through the fake ones and try to avoid the enemies, because if you don't, then it restarts the game. Okay, so let's test this. Loading. Okay, so here's the enemies flashing. 2 of them just disappeared because they collided with each other. Okay, so you run around, avoiding them. Yeah, it's not really that entertaining, but it shows you AI. So you get the point. Well, thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you learned something, and see you next time.